Thank you, Majesty. I made a special request for that song today. She does it quite well, but the lyrics, you may have seen that song on Oprah. A young Filipino teenager sang it, and it just went viral. And I've loved it for many, many years. And I do have some notes to God, and I would imagine that we all do. But that kind of capitulated the pure heart of a young woman who is evaluating what she thinks about life and about her position in the universe. So great job, sweetheart. Absolutely. The theme for the month is brokenness. I'm 62 years old this month. I will become 62 years old. My father is 88, and we think he's probably looking at a transition not too distant from now. We're going to go see him right after this service. I just returned yesterday from San Diego, well, really from Southern California, which is my home state and his home state, and all of his 7 children, and with my mother. And I was there just a couple of months ago to eulogize and help eulogize and bury my godmother, who was 90, who had a slight stroke in the morning and had made her transition by that evening. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was there again to help eulogize my dad's baby brother and only living sibling of the 7, one of which, the eldest of which he is. And so at this stage, you're thinking about all the breaks and the dissections, if you will, the intersections of life, the changes, the charges, the challenges, and what does all that mean? You start looking at life differently as you age. I've had my own physical challenges, and I'm a very healthy person, have been most of my life. And but when you get 60, you are reminded of that every once in a while. To see my dad sort of wither away in front of us. The 3 girls are there right now. The baby girl was there just for 9 days a couple of weeks ago. Madge goes out there quite a bit. Julian wants to fly in from Tulsa, from Chicago, and we want to be with our dad. We feel a certain disconnect already because he's slowed down and he's always been robust. I told you just a few weeks ago he was barking orders to me of how to fix a toilet, which I never did fix. I ended up hiring somebody to do it. But my dad's been a handyman. He's good with his hands. He's good with his mind. We couldn't afford to hire in, people to repair stuff. So Daddy fixed everything. Electricity, plumbing, we just, in our community where we lived at that particular state in life, we did things ourselves. And he learned, though he doesn't read well, never has been a great reader. Daddy remembers natural signs. If he's going someplace, how many of you could tell me how to get to your house by using nature, not signs with letters on it and lights, but trees and stumps and mountains? That's the way my dad knows how to get anywhere, hopefully to wherever we go when we leave here, just by signs along the way. But most of us are so electronicized, and we have so many additions that we have lost touch with common nature anymore. And I'm recouping, and the brokenness, it was with Rob Bell, who wrote the book Love Wins. I went to a seminar for his in California just this weekend. We've never met before. By the way, he's coming here in July to the Brady Theater. Can you believe Rob Bell's coming to the Buckle of the Bible Belt? And we know how to use that buckle around here quite. He's an expanded, recovering fundamentalist who has expanded his consciousness to believe more of a radical inclusive message. And there he stood with the flip-flops on. He surfs every day, and it was mostly leaders there, just a couple hundred leaders. And he wasn't sure it was me in the audience, but somebody introduced us afterward. But he recognized so we talked, and I want to be a part of what he does when he comes here. I recently, in conversation with Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote the book Conversations with God. We're bringing him here in May to one of my live streams, and I'm going to start doing some things on the road. He's a radical thinker, way out the box. His book ruined my life in ministry. The book Conversations with God, because I read it, about 3 chapters of it, and then before I finished it, got up on Sunday morning and mentioned it to my congregation. And I was excited about the book, and many of our people rushed out to the bookstores to get it. And when they got to the bookstores, they had to ask where it is, and it was in the New Age section of the book. So I was about 30 families that day, and the rest of them slowly left. And so we're going to do something called Conversations About God, with the author of the book Conversations with God. and pick his brain. He is a radical inclusionist, though he may not use that particular terminology. But when I talk about brokenness, I'm thinking about I heard him say something in Baltimore last spring about separation theology leads to separation psychology and separation sociology. Separation cosmology, psychology, pathology. This idea of being separate from, not separated, but separate from everything else. Our first sense of brokenness, whether heart, head, home, comes from the idea that you don't connect or that you don't relate. Isn't it interesting that in the Judeo-Christian Bible, when God is cited as creating everything, he or it says everything is good, and God saw that it was good, and God saw that it was good, and God saw that it was good. The only time God said or saw it not good was that man should be, or humankind should be, alone. A sense of oneness, or it's not good that man should be, or humankind should be only, or without connection for procreation to grow or expand itself. There were animals that were at least by two, but man, he only had one man, so then he made a womb man. He had a man without a womb and then created a man with a womb. A woman is a female man, and a man is a male man, even if you don't know where the post office is. We're all out here trying to find our space and really be reconnected to our essence, because somehow we remember in ourselves that we know everything and are connected with everything, but in our mind we believe other than that. So as you've heard me say, the mind is in conflict with the knowing. Your soul knows you got this thing cleared. Your soul knows you're all right. Your soul has no fears and no questions and only remembers it where there would have been a question. Your soul actually knows how to fill in the blank. Your soul is the bridge between what is and what you think isn't. But the mind, what you've been taught and told, suggests that the soul impersonated ignorance. That you are other than or less than. Ignorance means to ignore. Gnosis is the Greek word for knowledge. There's diagnosis and prognosis and ignorance. You are refusing to acknowledge something your soul already knows. That's what causes arguments. When somebody makes you feel less than you are, you rise up, you get assertive, you get defensive, because you say, wait a minute, I am all that in a bag of chips. How dare you suggest otherwise? There are people in prison right now because they know they've got it together. They know they're not poor, but they believe that they were, so they robbed a bank. There are people in hospitals and insane asylums and people that are vexed and tormented, substance abuse and tearing up their lives because inside they already know there is no disconnect, but they believe they're broke or broken, busted and disgusted. And we keep those messages going around. Every one of you in here, including the one speaking, wrestle every day with the difference between what we have been taught or told and what my soul or selves actually remember. Turn to someone and say, I got this together. I just forget it every once in a while. As you've heard me say, life for many people is little less than a sexually transmitted disease. Your mom and them were intimate even if they weren't married, and you were born, and now this dis-ease, which we say is basically incurable and it's terminal because we all go the transition that we call death, but it's not untreatable. So we're treating the dis-ease of having been of contracting this sexually transmitted disease inherited from our parents. And the tension and stress of trying to be in these bodies and feel comfortable as ourselves is an ongoing challenge, and for some of us a choice. I choose to be comfortable. I am comfortable or comforted intentionally. I can't depend on you or expect you to make me comfortable. I have to own my own comfort zone, my own, and create it. And we all do. If you want to affect substantial change in your life experience, you must think thoughts that feel different as you think them. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I'm actually quoting Abraham. This is a little bit of improvisation, but if you want to effect substantial change in your life experience, you must think thoughts that feel different as you think them. Because you're not what you believe. You are what you think about what you believe. The universe doesn't necessarily reward or judge you based on your feelings, but on what you think about what you feel and what you think about what you think about what you think about what you feel. And you're thinking, what the hell did he just say? Yeah. Excuse me for doing this too much. I keep moving this, and Mike tells me not to because it's not. My ears aren't big enough. Think about pain, joy, depression, loneliness, anger, happiness. They're all feelings that demand personal psychological opinions. And they expect you to have an opinion about them. Opinion comes from the Greek word for eye, ops, options, opinions, ophthalmology, optometry. Your spirit, pneuma in Greek, breath, pneumonia, pneumatics. The breath, your very essence, has answers, and our world is full of right answers to wrong questions. I'm trying to hear the quest or questions or inquest or request of my own soul. Those are the only questions worth answering. Talk to me, somebody. A lot of this stuff is a waste of time. And at my age and stage, I don't have that much time to waste, so I choose not to waste it. I might spill it. When you come up in sort of impoverished backgrounds, and most people in my neighborhood and family, people of color, we didn't ever use the word spill. We use the word waste. White folks spill stuff, black folks waste it. In other words, what we're saying, if we spilled it, we wasted it because it's milk we needed, coffee we needed, water we needed. It wasn't a lot of excess. I just learned that when I got to college because I had a friend that would always say, well, you spilled that. But I would always say, no, I wasted my drink. It fell off the table. I didn't just spill it. I can't afford it no more. I ain't gonna get no more. You going around here spilling stuff. I'm going around here stealing stuff. So your opinion is really your ability to see or to hear or become aware of something through the senses. Sight, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling. Perception, as you've heard me say, is the ultimate reality, but not necessarily the ultimate truth. So we are now in therapy this morning on this beautiful spring break Sunday. This is spring break. I don't know why so many adults are absent, because y'all ain't in school. Y'all just find a reason not to go. But this is spring break, and everybody needs a spring break. Matt started spring break Friday. She was supposed to be in Chicago today. She's going to go next month with her choir from school. But we're dealing with this constant, everyday sense that we're the only one, and that may be the only sin that exists, is the sin of embracing the illusion of alienation, isolation, and lack, or separateness. Not separation, just separateness, that you are not connected. You are sitting next to a verse or version of yourself. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're part of my universalism. Say it. Remember, I define universe as one verse, one verse, version, or versification of the whole. We are all inextricably, inseparably connected to one another. And when you think you're broke, you're just embracing an illusion. You're not really broke, you're just poor. And even that's an illusion. Give somebody a high five and say, no, I got this. I got it. The actual term brokenness or broken means having been fractured or damaged or no longer in one place or one piece in mind and spirit. No longer in working order. You ever been there? Feeling somewhat or in some ways dysfunctional or less functional. Abnormally impaired. Who wrestles with that? Out of sorts. Out of sync, out of syncopation, out of step or off step, missing it, not in the flow, not in your flow, not current or in the current. Current means belonging to the present time. I'm somewhere other than here. You're wrestling with your past, you're projecting in your future, and you're missing the moment. You're missing the now. You miss a conversation that's important right now because you're already thinking of your response after it. When you're in relationship, if Gina and I are trying to discuss something, I'm not always listening to if it's an argument, I'm not listening to what she's saying. I'm calculating my comeback. Right? Anybody in a relationship knows that. The secret to a happy marriage remains a secret because most of us won't listen. If I make my wife feel disconnected to me, or I assume that I am disconnected from her, it's an incredibly lonely feeling, and I protest it in varying ways. She does too. Our daughter does. Our son does. You do it with anybody you feel. Because particularly with marriage, there's a sense of entitlement. I own your love. I own your devotion. I own your commitment. What do you mean you don't understand me? You're the only one on the planet supposed to understand me. Shut up, you know. God, oh God, you didn't get it? We actually think we can train God. I'm always trying to teach God how to appropriately respond to me and what my needs are. Talk to me, somebody, because you do the same thing. In a sense, prayer is that, trying to manipulate God to do something that God it doesn't have the sensitivity to do. I'm not just talking about worship. It's like, dear God, please help me. God, don't let him. God, why don't you kill that person instead of this one? If you're honest with yourself, you are a manipulator more than a manager. Both have to do with the Latin word for hand, manage or manipulate. If you could take your manipulative skills, and most of you have really honed manipulative skills, and shift them over to managerial skills, you can't stop the pain, but you can manage it. You can't change the unchangeable, but you can manage it. You want to be contemporary. That means belonging to or occurring in the present, connected, a part of, related to, relevant. Brokenness is a feeling out of cadence into decadence, decay, death, disillusion, dying, feeling less than or un-than. Who doesn't struggle with that? I see more of my dad in me. I noticed the other day that my neck is looking more like a 62-year-old neck. Whatever that means. I'm running in my college mates that were of my class or around that class. Most of them are now grandparents. Some are great grandparents. And I told my dad the other day, son, I'm just getting old. That's what I said, Daddy, you ain't getting old. You old. I'm getting old. That's not all bad, but I'm shifting around. But I see more of my dad in my face. And the more of him that leaves, the more of him stays with me. I start becoming to look my hands. I was holding his hands the other day. His Native American red is coming through his hands. I want to hold his hands and kiss him and hold him close and push my face against his and my mom. And, they're not going to be here always, so I can't wait to touch them. I can't wait to tell them. I can't wait to tune into them again, though they both are just kind of becoming a little bit more confused here and there, and they're not always present, and they're talking about the past, and you got to pull them back into him, or sometimes you have to go. My dad used to say, son, when I was a boy, I'm thinking, Daddy, don't take me that far back. That's going to be a long conversation. Son, when I was a boy, I don't mind going back there, but Daddy takes forever to come back to the 21st century. He'll stay back there a long, long time. In fact, the last time I was talking to him, he was still back there. So, and what is it about us that we don't want to go back, and yet we have some precious and pressured memories of yesterday. It's like every time I get a phone call, somebody else has made a transition. There's a preacher friend of mine that only calls when somebody dies. So when I see his name, I say, who died? I'm starting out to like him, He's a great guy, but he's the bearer of bad news. It really shouldn't be bad news. That's not my selfishness. I don't want to lose my father. He said to me the other day, he said, man, he said, sometimes I don't feel like I have a reason to even wake up, let alone get up. And that hurt my feelings. And of course, he's speaking out of his hurt. Dad, and then you tell him how wonderful he is and how you can't wait to see him and you're glad that he's alive. And he said, I can't have peace. I don't want to be here like that. And I got that. I understand. 88 years is a long time. If he goes, he did well. But I said to him the other day while trying to convince him to eat, because he doesn't eat, he won't drink, he's just in one of those states. I said, Daddy, look, we have to live and we have to die, but we have to live until we die. And you're not dead. Drink this stuff. What is it? We give him a Boost. You would give him Boost, and we take him fried chicken. Somehow he'll always, Madge goes and gets him these little wings, and he eats the edge of the wing. Now, he's a preacher. He may not eat anything else, but he will eat that chicken. Even if you got to juice the chicken, he will eat the chickens. But that's my dad, and you all some of you have already lost your parents, or they've already transitioned, and you're saying, I wish I had them 88 years, or 68 years, or some of you lost them when you were young. We're wrestling, and there is a disconnect. When we bury my father, I will bury part of me, but a part of him will stay with me. Same with my mother. They go in their essence, they're still here, because there's not a spot where God is not, and all of us are divine. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're awfully divine. You're wonderfully divine. Remember, what you want wants you. The loneliness is that you want to experience yourself at your highest level of expression. Let me quote out of my book, God is Not a Christian. What you want wants you, because what you want actually is you. Sure, I'm going to cry. My sister was telling me yesterday, she says, I go in there, I hang with Daddy, we talk, I hope he's responsive. Then I leave, I go to my own room, and I cry, and one of them broke out in hives, one of them broke out in shingles. This family, my dad, my mom, and the 6 siblings that are alive, the first child lived only 14 hours, we've had each other for 65 years. We don't know how to let one go. We don't know how to adjust to that kind of emotional amputation. And it breaks your heart. You feel that part of you is gone. But really, as you've heard me say before, it's really, when you say you love your daddy, you're saying you love the part of your experience, yourself, that you experience when you're with your dad, or your mom, or your son or daughter or sibling, your spouse, your partner. You feel that connect. And when they're absent, you feel violated. I found myself almost saying, Dad, you don't have the right to just die. What are you talking about? I'll tell you when you can die. Mama, don't go. Mama, don't go. Even if a little bit of their mind is going, Mom, you just told me that 5 minutes ago. Don't do this to me. Don't you dare experience it. Don't you forget. Mom! Daddy, hey, Dad. How you doing, Dad? Get up, Dad. Let's take a ride. He likes a hamburger and a vanilla shake. Took him to the urgent care the other day. He said, so you really want to go in now? Let's just get a hamburger. That's all the medicine I need. We turned around, because all they were going to do is sticking with stuff and take the same blood pressure. And, I don't care what Daddy eats now. My grandfather, my mother's father, made his transition in 84. And he came up to me one time, I'll never forget, he said, Carl, go down, here's some money, go down the road there and get me some suck candy. I said, excuse me, what? I said, go down the road there and just get me a bag of suck candy. I said, what is suck candy? It's candy that you can suck. He meant hard candy. And I said, Grandpa, you don't need all that sugar. You don't need to be eating all that stuff and eating all that sugar. He said, I ain't eating it, I'm just sucking it. And we were trying to dance around talking about, you don't need this, you don't need that. He's 84. Give him what he wants. He's not going to be that man. He didn't even live a year after that. So eat all the suck candy you want to eat, Grandpa. My dad might want a little glass of communion. He never, because of our tradition, he wouldn't dare drink wine in the last 50 years. Now he actually likes a glass of wine, or two, or three. I said, go on and get drunk if you want to. I don't even care, Daddy. As long as you're not in any pain. You've lived all these years. Just relax, chill. He's waiting for the second coming of the Lord. And, we've talked through all this about those fantasies and that you are the second coming of Christ in consciousness. I don't think he's going to be riding no horse and all that stuff. And if he does, the guy that wrote it was probably high. He was... John the Revelator was almost 100 when he wrote that book, in case you don't know that. The book of Revelation. He was on the Isle of Patmos. He was cold, scared, and alone. And I know he was eating some mushrooms or some peyote. Huh? He was tripping his head off. He was trying to sleep. And I know he must have made some kind of herbal concoction. Next thing you know, Jesus was flying on a white horse with 7. If he does come back, he'd probably be on a jet or something, not spaceship with some kind of alien, but not no 7-headed horse. Anyway, strike that from the tape, please. I gotta live. I don't want nobody killing me over Jesus' horse. Again, I quote from my book, God is not a Christian, nor Jew, Muslim, Hindu. The loneliest moment in your life is not when you lose friends, family, or things. You're loneliest, or most lonely, when you are away from, unaware of, or missing part of yourself, your own soul. You are most lonely and depressed, feeling a sense of brokenness, when you have lost your essence or forgotten who you are. Because of this, our spiritual amnesia, we become transient souls, all but spiritual vagabonds, seeking our own self, our forgotten self, the one we somehow or somewhere mislaid or misplaced, or in some cases, replaced with an imposter. Eckhart Tolle says in his book, A New Earth, in the seeing of who you're not, the recognition of who you are emerges. The only time you're lonely and feeling a sense of disconnect or brokenness is when you have lost yourself. Your true, authentic self that you should both own and honor. Stop impersonating or playing the role of an imposter. Be you, and be it intentionally. Turn to the person next to you and say, you have no idea how awesome I am. What's the matter with you? And while you're at it, say, and neither do I. I don't really know how awesome I am. Can you compliment me and tell me how good I am? Now, the sense of connectedness, belongingness to part of the larger, even smaller significance is part of our social, we're spiritual, social, sexual, and sensual beings. Combining all three of those S's in their appropriateness. Our sexuality, our sensuality. When I talk about the sexual, I'm talking about your humanness. The part on the 6th day, according to the scriptures, the 6th day, or a sextet, on the 6th day, human beings are born. They bury you 6 feet under the ground. It's the number representing flesh or your humanness, not just gender reference or preference. It is who you actually are biologically and physiologically. Remember that sex doesn't just happen between the legs, it happens between the ears. How you think and what you think. First about you. And the only time you feel disconnected, again, is when you lose who you are. And that you are. Everything God made was good. The word base, another word for good would be complete. Don't think of perfection in the sense of being without flaw or a birthmark or something that you might not like about your physicality. Everything that creation created is complete in itself, a tree, but it's interconnected to the soil in which it is planted and the roots go down. When you watch the Animal Planet, which I like to watch, and you see birds sitting on top of rhinoceroses and something crawling up in its ear and it's eating, they're connecting with, they're big old beast, and he lays down and some other animals come and eat all the lice off of it. That's why God puts beasts in your life. Or bugs. Everything has its purpose. Right now, your body is covered with invisible microscopic life. There's little mites crawling around on your eyebrows, your hair, and they're not alone. There's a little invisible life force and source having a baby or making a baby on you right now. It could be defecating, urinating, or procreating, but it's on you right now. And on it is another one. And on that, there's something. And on that, that's what infinity is. Without finished, you're connected to the breath that you're breathing. And the last service that was in here, there's skin particles still floating in here. I've got to get through and go home. I don't care how much they vacuum and dust and clean people's skin. 90% of the dust in your home is human skin. You're going, gag me with a pitchfork, preacher. Stop. Make another point. You've made that one. That means you cannot stop being part of me. And I cannot, by will, only imagination, stop being part of you. And I don't want to stop being part of you. Because that would be less of me. I need you. I so respect you. I so identify with you. Your hopes, your hurts, your health, your heart, your head. Turn to the person next to you and say, you are so awesome. It's amazing. Almost finished. Major depressive orders. Listen to this. Boy, you guys are really into each other. I'd like to kind of finish my little talk here. What happened is you got so fascinated with the person next to you until said, hey, you could talk forever, and that's good. We were driving in California the other day. I had lunch at the Ritz Laguna Beach, Virginia, and I had our first week together as a married man and woman. And it's right on the cliff, and you can go there actually and have lunch without actually living there, but I've been going there for almost 30 years. But you can go in there and just sit and watch the ocean and watch the beach. It was beautiful. It was almost 90 degrees in Laguna. So I sat there with Tim, and we were talking over some of the business plans that we're making for an event that we're going to have in California. And I remember thinking of all the human beings on the beach and the ocean and the cliffs, and just about a 45-minute drive from where I was. I was born in San Diego, and who's still there, 5 miles north of the Tijuana border that I lived for 7 years. And I remember Gina and I being there. We made trips out there since then. And I remember that's the hotel I started writing the book, The Gospel of Inclusion, because somebody from Tulsa was tight. As soon as I preached it and got kind of the disconnect with the church here, I still drive down Memorial. Now they put another building there. It's absolutely fabulous. And then I went drive by the other night, and they're clearing out more property. In a sense, that's still my property. I almost got off and told them, hey, who told you could put that building out there? I've been gone a few minutes, but I'm back home. And it's like, no, you ain't. You don't. That ain't your property no more. Ain't nobody coming there to hear you teach. And I began to rejoice over the fact that it's still existing. And the building plans we had, which somebody brought to me the other day, and I had forgotten this elaborate set we had for this. I think you gave them to me, didn't you? They're in color and they're beautiful, and it was hurtful to look at them, but it was also heartful for me to look at them. And I had plans, and all of you were sitting here thinking, dang, I had plans. This ain't turning out the way I thought it was. I had plans. I expected this to happen and that to happen. You were emotionally tied to your plans, not the plan, just your plan. And your appraisals and fantasies and imaginations, and they're not all bad, except most of us, when we get to this age, it's like, well, this is not exactly the way I thought it was, but it ain't that bad. One of the things I noticed is that I personally had lights put on the front of the building. There's 6 lights with a light in the top and a light in the bottom. I told my security, I told my maintenance, I told everybody working on our staff, I'd like those lights to shine every night, both lights to be burned. I don't like to drive by and see one of the lights not burning. It irritates me. I have an ego, I have pride, and I believe in excellence. Fix those lights. They never got it right the whole time I had the church. And I had experts come in, and they would give me an excuse. Well, there's an electrical problem, and we can't quite connect that. And I said, well, I had that. It was in my dream. Now that I'm not there, I have never driven by it, that those lights aren't working perfectly. That's a major turnoff to me for me to say, what electrician did they choose that I couldn't find? Now, it's those kind of stupid things that we do that cause unnecessary frustration. Talk to me, somebody. Don't sweat the small things. Shake yourself right quick. It ain't that bad. Interestingly, major depressive orders affect approximately 14.8 million American adults and about 6.7% of the U.S. population age 18 or under. The median age for depression is 32. You know, teenagers, young people go through these identity crises in their homes. Most of you think you weren't your parents' favorite. Well, they thought I was a favorite, but really she liked so-and-so or he liked so-and-so. I was never their favorite. They never liked me. I wasn't people think I was my parents' favorite. I was the fifth of 7 children born to them and the fourth of those who remained alive. I was never special. What specialness I got, I earned. I was never the choice. I was just one of their kids. I knew that. That actually didn't bother me. But I think it impulsed me and impelled me to be more assertive and more successful and more aggressive until I'm kind of like the eldest and now I'm the fourth. But because nobody was excited about me coming in the first place. You've heard me say when I was born, nobody rejoiced. I was born right after Renee, she was born on July 8th. I came a year later in March, but she was born a year to the day after my brother. And my mother, her first child, she lost in 14 hours. Then my sister was born. A year later, my brother was born. A year to the day my sister was born. Then I come busting through. Wasn't nobody glad? I was another cloth diaper. Just, we didn't have Pampers and we had cloth. So I was just another kid. Now, because of that, and this is why everything that's happened in your life, it helps create who you are becoming. Don't complain. Don't protest. Don't contest. What you fight, you ignite and incite and invite. So stop fighting so much. Come on, get those hands up like this and clear the energy around. I will not be depressed. I don't have to be depressed. I'm not going to be depressed. And I refuse it. There's clinical and chronic depression. I'm not going to get into all that. But 96% of the universe is dark space. Not knowing. It's either not known or unknowable. 90% of your reality is a big old question mark. You're operating in 4% of it. And you're doing fairly well. 90%, 96% of what can be known is not known and may never be known. That's mind-boggling. So you're incredible and you don't even know it. 96% of your essence, you don't have a clue of, but you feel it. And when anybody suggests you're other than or less than that, something rises up and you might cuss. Might, I don't need to say might with some of y'all because you can cuss with poetry, You might break out or burst out or cry out or act out. So let me give you not an excuse but a reason. Everything about you, of all your responses in life, can be related either directly or indirectly to your greatness, to your godness, to your awesomeness. You are amazing. You're incredible. I'm talking to every single one in this room and watching by way of the internet. You're amazing. And look, you know that. I'm not telling you something you don't already know. You just don't believe it. You know you're good. You know you're God. You know deep in your soul that everything is not only going to be all right, everything is all right. You know that. You just don't believe it. I'm trying to affect how you think about what you know. And start functioning and operating in what you know. Your I amness, your amenness, or your om. Everybody's talking about meditation the way we used to talk about prayer. Some of you would rather medicate than meditate, but if you switch it, you might have to take a little bit. Somebody's like, I got to take a pill just to meditate. Bam. Some of you meditate better with a glass of wine. I understand that. Because when you take a little something, sometimes it makes you forget something. And so you go there. Do you know, I'm not justifying anything, but some of the greatest songs that were ever written were written by people who are high. You talk to some of these rock stars, Beatles and all, they're all high. I'm fasting and praying and seeking God for a word. This guy's smoking a joint and writing a bestseller. He just make you want to slap somebody. It's like, what? But that's what it took for him to lose himself in the subterfuge and to get out of the subterfuge and just get into another reality. Get those hands up one more time and shift the energy around. And Roddy, come just play a little softly because we're going to get out of here. Come on, shift the energy around. Move yourself. Move something. Move your toes. Scratch your ears. Whatever you have to do. And decide to be in the moment. Create the momentum. I wish you could sing something. I wish you could just, in relation to what, just your voice is awesome. So just say a few words. And let's close the afternoon with something this is what I call the moisture that waters the seeds that have just been sown. Planted in your soul and the soil of yourself. And it will grow. Some of it will have sprouted by the time you get home. The seed is already germinated. All I did was remind you of what you already know and may have forgotten. You're incredible human beings. And when I kiss my dad in a few minutes and kneel beside his bed and look at his skin, imagine always oils his ashy heels. And see my mom is not into the fact that she's losing her dad or her husband. She doesn't believe it. We're going to pray and believe God. So mommy's 88 years. You think he's going to heaven? He's going straight to God. Well, why would you keep him here if you think he's going to God? But that doesn't matter. Life happens, and we're all in the circle of life. Make the circle, please, everybody. The circles and the cycles. Close your eyes for a couple seconds, Roddy. Sing something for us, please.
Earlier in the service, asking each other to just say yes. Heard in the sermon that our soul already knows what's true. We need our mind to say yes to it. The Apostle Paul liked to say that Jesus was God's yes to all of our questions and all of the things that we refuse to acknowledge. I think of a beautiful way to end our service today, to say yes to what life and love has to bring our way. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. If you'd like to sing these next verses with me, they're at number 6 in the hymnal. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment in my dark, always that elusive.
Thanks for tuning in online. We are so pleased with all the different people who have been tuning in from all over the country and all over the world to our ministry and what we're doing at All Souls here in Tulsa. If you have a chance to send me an email or connect with me in some way, let me know what you're finding, why you tune in, and what you're getting out of it. I would love to hear from you. I'm always pleased when I get messages from different people who tell me all kinds of things about the impact of All Souls Tulsa's ministry on them and their lives and their families. And if you get a chance to make a gift to support this ministry, to become a partner, we would love to partner with you and have you be a friend of the church and somebody who is actually supporting us to create this congregation and the world that we're trying to create together. You can be a part of it, and every gift of every amount makes a difference. We really appreciate your support.